Listen up. There's something you need to hear, something most people are too scared to face. You're going to be alone. At some point in your journey, no one will clap for you. No one will understand your grind. No one will check on you. And that's okay. In fact, it's a gift. Loneliness, that's where the real work begins. That's where you stop relying on others to validate your existence. That's where you find out what you're made of. In solitude, there are no excuses. There's no audience to impress, no comfort to lean on. It's you versus you. I've learned from the pain, the suffering, the long nights in the dark. Loneliness is your teacher. When you're out there running on a cold, empty street at 4 a.m., when the world is asleep, and you're pushing yourself to places most people will never go. That's where you find strength. That's where you meet the unbreakable version of yourself. Discipline is your weapon in the silence. When the world is quiet, when the noise dies down, and it's just you and your thoughts, you've got two choices. You can let the silence crush you, or you can use it to sharpen your mind, to strengthen your resolve, to dominate. Solitude is where you strategize. It's where you build your mental armor. It's where you stop being dependent on others to pull you forward. You become your own damn engine. And let me tell you something else. Loneliness is not the enemy. It's the forge. Every second you spend alone, grinding in the dark while others look for shortcuts, you're building the kind of person who can withstand anything. Because when you own the silence, when you master solitude, you become unstoppable. So stop fearing it. Stop waiting for the world to save you. Face the loneliness. Embrace it. Let it transform you. Because when you learn to thrive alone, you'll never need anyone else to survive. Here's the thing most people don't get about loneliness. It's not a curse. It's leverage. Most people are scared of being alone because they think it's a sign they're doing something wrong. They'll do anything to avoid it. Chase shallow relationships, waste hours scrolling, surround themselves with noise just to feel connected. But the truth is, loneliness is where the breakthroughs happen. When you're alone, you have the space to actually think, to confront the hard questions most people avoid. What do I really want? Why am I not where I want to be? What's stopping me from getting there? Solitude forces clarity, and clarity is a superpower. Most people don't have it because they won't spend time in the silence long enough to find it. Loneliness isn't a sign you're failing, it's a sign you're on a different path. The more ambitious your goals, the fewer people will understand them. And that's okay. You don't need them to understand. Your job isn't to be understood, it's to execute. Think of solitude as the ultimate advantage. You're not distracted by everyone else's opinions. You're not chasing validation or wasting energy trying to please people who don't even matter. You're locked in, laser focused. That's where the big moves come from. If you're alone right now, good. This is your season to grow. This is your chance to build yourself without the distractions, without the noise. Use this time to become undeniable. Develop the skills, build the habits, do the work that no one sees. Because the work you do in silence will speak loud when the results show up. Most people will never spend enough time alone to figure out what they're capable of. But if you can embrace it, if you can learn to love it, you'll realize solitude isn't a weakness. It's a weapon. Here's the kicker. The stronger you get in solitude, the less lonely you'll feel. Not because people will start showing up, but because you won't need them to. You'll be so confident in what you've built, so sure of your own value, that you'll stop relying on external validation altogether. So if you're in a season of loneliness right now, don't run from it. Lean into it. Use it. Because this is the space where you level up. Turn solitude into strength, and you'll come out of it unrecognizable. Here's the thing about turning solitude into strength. It compounds. The more time you spend alone, the more you build, the further ahead you get. Why? Because most people are chasing quick wins and distractions. They're burning time trying to stay busy. But busy isn't the same as productive. When you're alone, you don't have the luxury of pretending you're doing something just because you're around others. You either put in the work or you don't. And that's where the edge is created. Think about the most successful people you admire. They didn't get there because they stayed in the crowd. They stepped away. They got focused. They isolated themselves long enough to break the patterns that keep most people stuck. Solitude isn't glamorous, but it's where the foundation is built. The late nights, the early mornings, the grind, when no one's watching. That's where you create something the world can't ignore. And when the results finally come, everyone will act like you're an overnight success. They'll see the outcome, but they'll never understand the loneliness it took to get there. Here's a framework to think about. Audit your time. When you're alone, you have control over your schedule. Most people waste that freedom. Instead of binge watching or endlessly scrolling, ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do right now that will create the most leverage in my life? Then do that thing. Use solitude to learn. There's no better time to acquire skills than when you're alone. Pick a skill that will make you more valuable. Writing, coding, selling, speaking, and obsess over it. Build yourself into a person who can't be ignored. Plan your moves. Solitude gives you perspective. Step back and ask, where am I going? And what do I need to do to get there? Use the quiet to strategize, to map out the steps, and to align your daily actions with your long-term vision. Shift your mindset. Don't see loneliness as a lack. See it as a resource. You're not deprived, you're free. Free to create, free to grow, free to focus. The world's noisiest people are stuck in a feedback loop of mediocrity. You've got the silence. Use it. The reality is this. Solitude is uncomfortable because it forces you to face yourself. But that's exactly why it's powerful. It strips away the noise and excuses, leaving you with a choice. Stay the same or transform. When you embrace loneliness, you step into a different category of human. You become someone who doesn't need external motivation, who doesn't crumble without validation, who can operate at a high level no matter the circumstances. And when you come out of that season, you're unstoppable. So don't fear being alone. Leverage it. Build in the silence. Because the solitude you embrace today will become the strength that defines you tomorrow.